Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Delighted to be here. Because I'm not a politician, just a simple businessman, I can be even more direct in my comments. I can be direct in saying, first of all, what a glorious economic future we have when we leave the European Union, when we eventually Brexit, because it gives us the freedom to create a truly free market-orientated global economy. Not only can we reform the common agricultural policy and fisheries, as we heard before, but we can also repatriate the £10 billion a year net contribution and use it to provide tax breaks for business, for R&D and investment. We can use it to make the UK a world leader in digital connectivity and the infrastructure that business needs to prosper, and in so doing generate the taxes that will pay for our public services, including the NHS. We can also remove external tariffs from the common external tariff, which is a tax on our economy, a tax on our consumers that prevents poorer people in society living their lives to the full. We can do this through free trade arrangements, or we can do it unilaterally, purely by the decision of the UK government. We can also remove the blight of having taxpayers, poor taxpayers often, subsidising migrants into unskilled jobs. Economists for Free Trade estimate that each individual migrant into the UK going into an unskilled job is subsidised by taxpayers to the tune of £3,500 per annum per individual through state support, public services, schools, etc. All of those things together add up, according to the Economists for Free Trade, a group led by Patrick Minford, a group of contrarian economists, by the way, who in the face of the serried ranks of corporate economists of the CBI and the Treasury have been proved consistently right on every major issue in the economy since Margaret Thatcher. They say that the economy of the UK will improve by up to 7% of gross domestic product. That's like the economy growing for more than a decade, every single year, by an additional quarter. Imagine that. Imagine how prosperous we will be and how much tax revenue can be generated to pay for public services. But I must also be direct in another way, apart from extolling the virtues of our free market post-Brexit economy. It can only be achieved if we leave the single market and the customs union, because those two institutions prevent us from implementing all of the measures that I have spoken about. The only Brexit that exists is that. There is no such thing as a soft Brexit. Brexit is Brexit. And I must also be direct in another respect. Lest you come here next year and find that you've been led up the garden path. We have won the battle, but we have not yet won the war. The truth of the matter is that if the Florence speech were to persist a second beyond 2 years, it would be the biggest capitulation that we have seen since Munich in 1938, and I kid you not. No business person would ever go into a negotiation with another party saying, first of all, believe me, I'm not going to walk away from the table. Unless you're prepared to walk away, in reality, you've lost the negotiation before you start. Secondly, who in their right minds would say, I will gift you all these things, and in return, I ask for nothing? The EU have already pocketed all of those things and are waiting for more. Who would say, I will take all of the rules that you give me, including the new rules, and I will be constrained in not being able to implement any of the benefits of Brexit, and I will also be content that I have no say for 2 years in any of the rules that you make. Who would do that? Well, our Prime Minister did in Florence. So we must be extraordinarily careful. And I echo the words of Dave Jones, that we need absolutely to hear from the government, particularly from the Treasury, who have been deafeningly silent since the referendum. We need to hear from them what our post-Brexit economic plan is, deal or no deal. And we need to be serious that actually, if we find the EU are not prepared to come to the table and negotiate properly by Christmas, we must walk away and adopt World Trade Organization rules which work perfectly well for the 55% of exports that we currently send to the rest of the world. So I'll just leave you with a phrase that has been lent to me by one Boris Johnson. It is in Latin, and of course I'm not an expert in Latin, but it appears to say, I'm sure Mr. Rees-Mogg will tell me that I'm saying it incorrectly, hasta la victoria siempre, which I thought was rather ironic that Boris should have lent this to me, since it's the favourite phrase of Che Guevara. Until victory, always.